welcome back to Luigi's Mansion 3. We're continuing through the basement sewer plumbing area, so how about that? Luigi has to deal with plumbing.
I like that there's a pin-up calendar of Helen Gravely in the basement.
To be honest, like, we've had so many instances where, oh, gasp, shock, horror, the plumbers are doing plumbing things at this point that the joke kind of has undone itself, and we can now somewhat credibly treat these two characters as plumbers.
I remember that particular beat being emphasized in, like, I think the earliest I want to say is Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga,
Yeah.
the first Mario and Luigi game, because there's a segment there where you're fixing pipes
And they
leaks.
call out to it specifically.
And people, and not just the game itself, but like everyone was saying, like, oh my god, the Mario Brothers are actually like doing plumbing. Yeah. But it's like the people still bring it up as if it's new, even today, and it's like, not really. It's kind of played out at this point.
I mean, it's funny when they do it once in a while, I guess is the thing. It's just like, oh right, these guys have a job. If they wanted to get really deep in there, they could have them do carpentry.
Do they?
Because
Do the Mario Brothers have a job?
I mean,
we know them as plumbers, sure, but it's like, because it's so infrequent.
Mario's a doctor. Is that a job?
Well, Mario's
Well,
he's also a referee.
Well, you know, if they run their own plumbing business, it explains why they are able to set their own schedules well enough that they can go on these adventures all the time. It doesn't explain how they can pay for them, but
They're
just look at all the
they're also
points they rack up.
world-class athletes in 10 different sports. So, there's that. They're also Olympic-level
Gee, Mario,
athletes.
you're just good at everything, aren't you?
oh yeah, I can imagine. Okay, Mario and Luigi, the world's most physically unfit Olympic superstars, and plumbing is just their hobby.
Yeah, it's what they do on the side, just to get away from it all.
To escape.
Yeah, it's just like,
They don't.
man,
They don't really have beer bellies. The gut is just pure muscle. Okay.
yeah, for their Olympic.
No, it's just nothing but water.
Something I would have really liked here that I'm not a big deal that they didn't do here, but I would have liked it if they had like some considering the kind of the brick and pipe design for everything here. It would have been nice if they brought back like some Mario Brothers enemies for like ghosts and stuff, like the fly and crab and all
The
that.
crabs and all that.
I played far too much of Mario Brothers on the Super Mario Advance games. Like, they had that port in every single one of those.
I never understood that.
Because it's probably
it's
like
the
a
only
two.
it's the only multiplayer they could do for Mario Brothers, really.
It's also like a 2 kilobyte game. So.
But it's not so much like the reason for including, but like, why was it in every copy of Advance?
Because
Except for
Really, really easy to include.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think of is like the game was done when they made Super Mario Advance 1. It's like, okay, here's a nice little bonus. We'll do Super Mario, the original Mario Brothers. It's just like, well, it's done and it adds all of half a megabyte to put it onto the cartridge. So let's throw it into all the other ones.
It's also an easy way to it's also a super easy way to have multiplayer that works between every game.
Half a
Yeah.
megabyte would have been a ridiculous amount of space back at that time.
Yeah, probably.
It was probably closer to like a couple dozen kilobytes at
if
most.
emulation sizes are anything to go by, most NES games were just maybe a
most
few dozen kilobytes.
An image
NES
of
games
Super
are smaller than an MP3. So.
No, an image online is more space than the actual games themselves these days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Like only starting with Super Nintendo and beyond, where you start going into maybe a few megabytes, but that's about it.
yeah, but you get the idea. But
Yeah.
the point is that I've played far too much of that game because it's fine, but there are far better arcade games than the original Mario Brothers. Like,
it's harder to do on the Game Boy Advance because they either had the link cable or the wireless
Honestly,
adapter.
if there was ever one arena in which Sega definitely beat out Nintendo, it was in the arcades.
yes,
But no, the Mario Brothers works better as an arcade game because you're guaranteed to have people around to play it with you.
yeah, you're right about that, Lewis. And like, Nintendo didn't really make arcade games after like 1985.
came out,
There
yeah.
are exceptions. Like, there are arcade ports of some NES games, and I'm sure there's a handful of other games that did go straight to the arcades. Like, I think Punch Out
Yeah, but that's not strictly Nintendo though. Those are just third parties working with Nintendo.
Yeah, but like if we're talking about arcade-styled games, I think that on the whole, Sega does do that better than Nintendo. Like Nintendo is generally more interested in making like a slightly, for lack of a better word, deeper experience more often.
No, I would say home console experience. Or not necessarily. Doesn't necessarily have to be deep.
Yeah.
Just a
You
different
could
market.
describe some of Nintendo's games as arcadey feeling, but not, but mostly in like the using the term lightly sense. That said, the thing about Sega's arcade games that they tend to be quite good actually for single player experiences. Oh no, it's the shark
Yes.
ghosts. You're not going.
And
I feel like
now
I'm watching a little. I feel like I'm watching a Little Big Planet mod go horribly wrong.
That,
like for some reason.
You know what? That's a pretty apt visual comparison here.
yeah, you know the like the cutouts of the shark fins do look like something on a Little Big Planet. Now that you mention it.
The random odd toy things.
Oh, I'm remembering now. This floor also frustrated me because you can't get everything on your first go, because you have to backtrack here later again, and it's
At the very least, it does give you a little bit something different to do compared to something like Polter Kitty.
Yes, I mean, yes, I will say that the backtracking to this floor is done better than Polter Kitty. I agree there, but it's still frustrating because the first time you go through, there are clearly spots where there are secrets, and you just cannot get those secrets because they're meant for the second run through.
Yeah, that was a bit frustrating at first, but then I realized what they probably meant. Yeah. Okay.
Cubes.
So, we have a new type of ghost here, do we?
Yeah, they just hide better, and you have to use the ghost light to find them. Although sometimes you just get them normally, like this. So it's a little bit late in the game to be introducing this kind of enemy. I feel that's one thing that I think where Luigi's Mansion 3 does fall flat, in that the enemies take far too long to get introduced. Like this kind of enemy, it's fine. There's no issues with it being in the game. Like it's a good enemy type to have, but we're about halfway through the game, and halfway through the game in this game's like 6 hours. And this sort of enemy should have been added much earlier.
I should say it's more a problem of there aren't really enough enemy types to gracefully pace out enemy reveals for this long throughout the game. So it
Yeah,
winds
more
up-
variety in general would have been nice.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes,
like,
agree.
Devil May Cry 4, for example, or Devil May Cry 5 as an even better example, they're still introducing new enemy types, like, until very close to the end of the campaign. But it works because there are so many of the goddamn things. So you're always fighting something kind of new.
That's generally really helpful, especially in action-based games, if they're adding new enemy types. Or, at the very least, significantly altering old enemy types. Like, because I'm thinking about Streets of Rage 4, because that's the most recent heavy action game I've played. And they introduce new enemy types all the way up through, like, the second to last level or something to that
Yeah.
effect. And, you know, I mean, like, brand new enemies. Of course, they're palette swapping old enemies so that they have more health and whatever. But there are brand new enemies being introduced throughout the majority of the game, which really helps keep things fresh.
Yeah.
And especially in action-heavy experience, and especially in a 90s style beat 'em up, which can get repetitive fairly quickly if you haven't noticed any game in that genre from the beginning of time till the end of time.
It especially helps in Streets of Rage 4 because they perhaps went a little too easy on updating it and made it maybe like too close to retro for my taste. If that were to,
I mean, I can understand that, but it's
like, you know,
I can understand that,
they
but
had a
it's
golden
really well
opportunity
done.
to develop a game that had all the strengths of Streets of Rage without any of the frustrating parts, and they not just avoided doing it, they made a point to include the frustrating parts. And
What frustrating parts are you talking about specifically?
Just like the way certain enemies attack you and the way you don't really have a counter to that.
Oh, okay. I found that it was a little bit easier in Streets of Rage 4 to tell enemy patterns than in some of the old games because the animation was so much better.
Yeah, but
Like,
on
it's
the other
easier to
hand,
see the wind-ups.
Some of the more frustrating bits didn't really even have to do with enemy patterns. Like the guy who holds the knife and just walks at you, that
yeah,
asshole,
those guys. Yeah, those
They
guys
didn't-
are always
They
assholes.
didn't just include it. They doubled down and made different versions of it with different weapons. I'm like,
Yeah, there's
okay,
the
I really didn't need you to make that guy more of an asshole by giving him a goddamn naginata. Although it does somewhat make more sense to have a guy charging at you with a polearm than with a knife held out.
He's not even like running at you with the knife. He's like holding the knife at his stomach. So it's like you take a kitchen knife and you run at somebody with it on your stomach, like rah. So you have to basically body slam someone in order to stab them at that point.
Yeah.
Oh man.
The other annoying thing, a bit more subtle, is the way that enemies have like a really narrow hitbox as far as the Z-axis is concerned.
Oh, that's an issue with every beat 'em
yeah,
up.
but
that
they
does
can
that,
hit you
though.
outside their own range. So,
It's I still really love the game though. And oh yeah, if we're talking about certain stuff like this room right here, that brick wall in the middle, that's a very clearly a breakable brick wall, but you can't break it until you come back, and it
Because I needed Toad to bash his face into it.
Yeah, it frustrated the shit out of me.
yeah.
I also think the wooded planks on the walls too. You need to have the Toad to bash into those in order to get that too. And it's just like, there's very clearly other stuff I could shoot. Wait, you can do that?
I mean, there's a big button you can flash on it, so yeah.
Man, I'm dumb. Okay.
I mean, it didn't give you that much gold, so it's not like you missed anything.
Turns out that was the 12 gold I needed in order to get A rank instead of B rank the whole
Christ.
time.
My eyes landed on that on that pile of garbage in the corner there, and I was like, "What's a Garbodor doing here?"
Oh, gee.
I'm out of it.
You know, one of those days when I eventually feel like playing Pokemon again. Oh, you can! Oh, I guess it makes sense that you would be able to hit it, but you're clearly not intended to. One of these days when I'm back in the mood to play Pokemon, so 5 years from now, I'll try to use Garbodor in a team, and it will turn out incredibly
well, I
badly.
mean, in like a month or so, probably less actually, we're getting the first expansion to Sword and Shield.
Yeah, and I'm not gonna buy it because
Oh,
I
you
did
don't
not
already
like
have it?
Sword.
Okay.
No, because
I
I
bought
did not
the-
like Sword and Shield at all, and the expansion does not look to fix my problems. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna save the money.
I bought the expansion pass when I got both versions, so.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if it adds content, which I suppose is something that the game did lack,
Yeah.
but it's not content I'm interested in, so I'm gonna save the
It
money.
also like gives you a new way to get Gigantamax forms, so that'll be interesting.
That's something, but I guess I ultimately, unfortunately, it's not enough. None of the stuff that it offers is enough to get me to turn around when I didn't like the base experience. I think expansion passes as a whole are a hard sell if you didn't like the original game, and I think they're still even a hard sell if you only sort of liked the game to begin with.
It depends
I'm-
really on which game you're talking about and the nature of the exact problems you had with it. In some cases, the DLC expansions that I've seen have been like direct answers to criticisms with the main game.
That those do pop up. I do agree, but I'm thinking of a lot of like expansion packs were something that were huge in the PC games in the 90s, and they kind of dropped away a bit until more recently when they could do them for console games too with DLC. But like, for example, like there's an Age of Empires expansion pack called Age of Kings, which is like, okay, there's 5 new civilizations to play in a new story campaign. I liked it because I already like Age of Empires, but if you don't care for it, it's just more content for the same game, and that's not going to get you to buy the game or like want to pick up the expansion pack if you weren't already a fan. of that style of gameplay. You know, like I guess to use another example, even though it's not. I mean, you could argue that it's an expansion pack. If you don't like the original Sonic 3, adding and Knuckles onto it isn't going to make you like the game, because it's just more of the same game, effectively.
Fair
and
enough.
there are definitely expansion packs that go out of their way to try to fix problems, but it's still a hard sell to get someone who played this game and didn't like it to give the expansion a chance, because they already tried the game and they didn't like it. So
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. It's like, is there really an expansion pass, or at least a marketing aspect of the expansion pass that tries to bring in new fans, if not
Final
strictly
Fantasy
just...
XIV.
Well, MMOs are a different beast. The expansions that get added to MMOs are specifically for the purpose of keeping the game alive.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but I mean, that's the only one I can think of that was basically sold as, we made the game good this time. Please play it.
Like, yeah, I would agree for like the first one, like in Realm Reborn.
Yeah,
sure.
no, that's the one I'm talking
that
about.
wasn't even
Yeah.
wasn't even an expansion though. That was just a completely new game.
That was a reboot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but if you don't like modern Final Fantasy XIV for whatever reason, a Shadowbringers, yeah, that's not going to make you like
Well,
Final
yeah.
Fantasy XIV
If
now.
you don't like Final Fantasy XIV, say because you have a dislike of the World of Warcraft formula of MMOs, which I kind of do, to be honest. Yeah, I would say that more expansion content isn't going to sell you on it.
But in a non-Final Fantasy example, like, can you guys think of a video game or a franchise that, when selling the expansion pack of an already released game, tries to bring in newcomers? Because most of the time, from what I've seen from marketing, an expansion pack just uses itself for folks who already have the game.
Yeah, I'm struggling to think of.
You know?
I'm struggling to think of an
It
example.
depends somewhat, because sometimes the marketing department will double down on it and also use the marketing push for the expansion as an opportunity to try and entice people to play the original. But it
Yeah,
depends on how big the expansion is and how much of a marketing push they put into it, really.
Yeah, I really can't think of anything.
I don't know.
Oh.
Maybe The Witcher?
You still haven't played Witcher?
Well, I mean, a lot of people haven't played Witcher 1 or
Yeah,
Witcher 2.
I won't give anyone crap for skipping Witcher 1, because for as much charm as it has, it's an awkward ass game. But Witcher 2 is damn good, if a bit clunky, and Witcher 3 is borderline perfect. So yeah, play it.
They really need to stop leaving these rubber duckies around.
Ernie.
Is this what Ernie grew up to be, as a creepy janitor?
Okay.
I guess not, but
Okay.
it's time for our boss fight against Cletus, the slack-jawed yokel.
Someone please think of a tangent, because if I actually talk about what's going on screen, I'm going to rage.
Do you not like this boss?
This boss is terrible.
Hold on, wait a minute. You don't want to talk about
The game?
game itself?
This boss is okay, you got me started. This boss is terrible. You have
Yep,
to
ain't the
push
shit.
yourself around with your stupid vacuum blower on a stupid rubber ducky float. And you have to avoid being popped on the spikes around the arena. If you are popped, well, you kind of you lose health and you get warped up to the surface and you have to get back on the raft, and it's tedious.
This is a Mario Party minigame.
It is a Mario Party minigame. The
No,
only thing that's frustrating about the
isn't a Mario Party minigame. This is a Crash Bash minigame.
oh Jesus. The frustrating thing about this boss fight, like, I mean, the concept's fun. The thing is that, like, because, like, here, like, right now, it takes so long to get back up to him that even if you're doing it perfectly,
And the mine blew me up, so I couldn't
sometimes
get to do
dumb
it.
stuff like that will happen. And then you have to go through the whole really, really tedious process of getting him back out of the pool. And, sometimes there's only one ladder out. If there were, like, 4
Two.
ladders out, or something like that, this boss would be a
I would
lot
say
better.
2 would mitigate it in half. Yeah. As well.
Yeah, well,
There's just one.
Yeah, there's just one, and like in that example right there, he flew literally as far away from the ladder as possible, and so Ryan really couldn't get a good way in, you know. So
This boss.
also he's using the fan item, which is taken
you
out of the
can't block.
game, so he's cheating. He's using hacks in order to get the fan back into Luigi's.
Oh, they
mansion.
did take the fan out of Smash Brothers.
I know,
Yep.
right? It's like a classic item that's been in every game, and they just took it out for some reason.
Wait,
Wait,
what?
wasn't it Smash 4?
No. Well, it's not an ultimate anyway.
Wait, what?
No, it's in Smash.
Was it in Smash 4?
Is anyone like actually mourning the absence of the fan though?
I love that stupid thing. What are you talking about?
I mean, I loved spamming it against shields.
It's
Fucking
it's
ate
a
'em
dumb.
alive.
Don't get me wrong. It's a dumb item. Also, bring back the cracker launcher, you cowards.
Oh no, Cracker Launcher could stay.
No, look, that thing was fun. You like angle it and shoot it all over the place, and there's rockets flying. That item was cool. All right. You're telling me that in a world where the Beetle and the Gust Bellows exist, that the cracker launcher was the problem?
I mean, I could do without the beetle too, but Gust Bells is fine because I like.
You like people just not being able to recover?
I just like seeing people react and bitch about it.
God damn it, John.
It's in the game. You can use it. But
Oh. Wait,
Oh,
did
he-
he just...
He just blew himself up.
Oh, sweet.
if only I was so lucky.
Oh, wait, you know what? I know the secret tech. After you blow him up, you fly yourself into the spikes in order to get yourself out.
No,
earlier.
because they need to blow up the inner tube.
Oh, they won't let you just walk
Nope.
towards him? Wow. Talk
And
about
that's
skewed
that.
priorities, though. Luigi, there's a ghost sitting there ready to catch, and Luigi's like, gotta blow up my rubber ducky float.
And Luigi couldn't just shoot that at the wall. No, he, for some reason, turns to blow it into the water. It's like, okay.
He
He
his
realizes
victory-
that he's being a fuck up.
He does his victory dance, and then he's like, "Aw."
Also, all of the hearts blow into the water.
Yeah, but you can suck them up though.
It's at least something, but...
Yeah.
Alright. Well, that is one terrible boss fight out of the way.
It
I mean-
dicked me over at one point and then gave me a freebie on the other, so I guess it came out even.
I mean, the idea is fun. It's just... Isn't that actually one of the mini-games, is riding around in the rubber duckies?
I think so, yeah.
I
Not
mean,
that I play the multiplayer in this game.
yeah. I mean, it is a perfectly passable Mario Party mini-game, in some places, I guess. Just not a great boss fight. Crash Bash.
We will never do that game. See you next part for Luigi's Mansion.